quickly. So I realize that as we go through this, I may say some things that you guys are not familiar with. Please feel free to ask Sue in the chat box and she can bring those questions up to me. But there's likely going to be things that I can only skim over, and I am so happy after the presentation to connect with you guys and provide more information for you. So we're going to talk about eligibility and enrollment and managing the ABLE account. So those are my goals for today. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we're going to start with just a little background about ABLE itself. ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience, and ABLE accounts are a way for people with disabilities to finally be able to save money for the future without jeopardizing any of their state or federal means tested benefits. For many, many decades, people with disabilities who qualified for benefits such as SSI and Medicaid and other waivers, they really were in a situation where they were not able to save for things that were important to them, things that they needed, because with those benefits came a $2,000 asset limitation, meaning that if they were to save or conserve money anywhere outside of a special needs trust, if that amount were to exceed $2,000, it would jeopardize their benefits. And if they continued to save that money for a period of time, eventually they would be disenrolled from SSI, and they would have to reapply in the future if they became eligible. And that is something that we don't ever want to have to go through again, because it's a laborious process and sometimes it takes a while to be able to receive those benefits. So thankfully, through the advocacy efforts of many people with disabilities, families, advocacy groups and provider agencies, there was a lot of support to make a way for people to be able to save, and that was through the ABLE legislation, which was passed in 2014 under the Obama administration. And the reason I like to tell you that this is federal legislation is because it gave states here in America the opportunity to open ABLE programs, but it didn't federally mandate that they do that. And it also didn't provide funding in every state. So that's why some states have ABLE programs and some don't. Our legislation was signed into law by Governor Hogan in 2016, and we launched our program in 2017. So some people are still finding out about us, and I expect that some folks on the call today are just hearing about us, while others may know a bit. So let's talk a little bit about the eligibility. Oops, pardon. Oh, sorry, I don't know why my screen's going, there we go. While I'm talking about the national legislation or the federal legislation, it's important to know that every state that has an ABLE program has a certain amount of flexibility to make features to their program that are different from other states. So I'm going to share with you first the guidelines for all ABLE accounts, and then we'll talk more specifically about Maryland. The first thing we'll discuss is who is eligible, and that would be a person who experienced the disability prior to the age of 26. Now, sometimes when we're looking at older adults, they may not have necessarily been diagnosed before they were 26. This would be an example of an older person who would be on the autism spectrum because they simply didn't have the diagnosis, years and years and years ago. So someone who experiences a disability prior to the age of 26, either because they have a formal diagnosis before then, or they have documentation of the disability through a physician. The second criteria would be for the person to meet the Social Security definitions, Social Security Administration's definition of a disability. So a lot of times we know if someone is currently receiving SSI or SSDI, we automatically know that they're eligible for an ABLE account because they've already been reviewed and approved by the Social Security Administration. So there's always a certain portion of the population that says, well, gosh, I have a child who's 10 or 12 or whatever, and I don't receive any SSI for that child or SSDI, but they do have a disability, and we recognize this. So the other way that you can qualify for the ABLE account is to take a certification form that is available on the Maryland ABLE website to the physician, and they can sign off on that. So it's okay if you are a person that has a disability that is not currently receiving SSI or SSDI. That doesn't mean you don't qualify, as long as your physician says that you meet the definition of a disability as defined by Social Security Administration. A lot of times we find this in children under the age of 18, because when Social Security looks at them for benefits, they're counting the resources of the entire family. But once the individual turns 18, they're just looking at that person's income. And so they oftentimes do qualify. We like to point out that the owner and the beneficiary, we're going to use those terms one and the same, is always the person who has the disability. Unlike other things like trust funds or even the college savings plan, where someone can open an account and have a beneficiary for a child, the ABLE account is always going to be owned, and it's always going to be owned by the person with the disability, and they are also the beneficiary. Okay. So why is ABLE an important legislation? Well, remember we talked a little bit, I shared a little bit about that $2,000 asset limitation and what would happen if people exceeded that limit. They would eventually be disenrolled from Social Security. With an ABLE account, it gives people the opportunity to save up to $100,000 in their ABLE account without it impacting their SSI benefits. So what would happen is if you have $100,000 in your account or below, everything is going to remain intact. You would continue to get your regular SSI benefit, as well as any Medicaid and waiver services. But if you were to exceed that amount, of what would happen is you may no longer receive that monthly benefit that would come in. It would go into a state of suspension, but you would never lose your Medicaid or any of the waiver services. And at any point when that balance in the ABLE account fell below $100,000, you would automatically receive the SSI monthly payment. And the reason this would happen is because you've never been disenrolled from Social Security Administration's plan, unlike if you had money in a savings account outside of ABLE. So that's important to know, that you don't get disenrolled, and that even if you do exceed the $100,000 limit, you're not going to lose that critical benefit of the Medicaid and waivers that are related to that. With an ABLE account, there is a maximum contribution per calendar year of $15,000. And this is going to apply to ABLE accounts everywhere. This amount does change from time to time, okay, as it is tied to the federal gift tax law, which is something that says you can give people a gift up to $15,000 without them needing to pay taxes on it. So if this law changes in the IRS code, it's going to impact ABLE accounts also. I believe when I started the program, when I started with Maryland ABLE, this amount was, I believe, $13,000 or $14,000. So it doesn't change every year, but it does change from time to time. If the person who has the ABLE account is employed, they have the opportunity to make additional contributions to the ABLE account. They can actually contribute an additional annual amount up to $12,490 if they meet the criteria of able to work. And able to work participants are individuals who are employed, and they are not contributing to a retirement account with their employer, and their employer is not contributing to a retirement account on behalf of the employee. So basically what the IRS is saying is that you're going to get one opportunity to do this tax advantage savings. You can't double dip and have tax advantage retirement savings and an ABLE account. So that is something that people can definitely participate in if they meet that criteria. And this amount of that $12,490 again is going to change from time to time as the federal poverty wage amount changes from year to year. So currently in 2020, that's what that is. As far as contributions to an ABLE account, we like to remind everyone that anyone can contribute to an ABLE account. It can be the individual, the account holder who has the ABLE account that's putting money into the account. It can be family members, it can be friends, it can be anyone. Also, you can contribute money to the ABLE account from different types of sources. One of the biggest questions we get is, what if I get SSI benefits? Am I allowed to contribute any of that money to my ABLE account? And we want you to know that according to the latest regulations, any money that remains at the end of the month that you haven't spent on those benefits, on those items that Social Security has approved for you to spend it, that additional leftover money can be placed into an ABLE account. So you can definitely contribute money from that source as well. The money that is in the ABLE account is going to be earning interest, but you're not going to be paying taxes on it. You don't pay taxes on the interest that you've earned, not when it's in the ABLE account and not when you take it out either, as long as it is being used for what we call qualified disability expenses. And I'm gonna just skip ahead here for a moment, and we're gonna talk about what qualifies as a qualified disability expense. The way our regulations were written is to say that a service or any type of thing that you could purchase is a qualified disability expense if it meets three criteria, one of the three criteria. Does it support the person with the disability in his or her health, independence, or quality of life? So this is a very broad definition, and it was intentionally written that way because everyone that has an ABLE account is going to have different needs. But as you can see by looking at the slide, qualified disability expenses can range from all different types of topics. These are just categories that we've listed here. They're not specific examples, but I can go ahead and share some of those as we go along. As far as health and prevention, this could be a gym membership. Okay, it could be paying for medical or dental copays. With housing, you can use the money in your ABLE account to pay for your rent or mortgage. With education, that could be classes at a community college. It could be enrollment in a four-year university and books and computers and things that would be related to that. With employment, it could be additional job coaching or support that you might need in your job. Transportation can be to purchase a car, or it can be used for things like an Uber or taxis or buses. Any type of basic living expenses like utilities would be included. With assistive technology, that can be as simple as something like a cell phone and your monthly cell phone bill. So these are just some general categories and a couple of the examples. I'm going to just stop right here, and I want to check in to see if we have any questions on any of the things that we've covered so far.
Thanks, Kelly. I appreciate that. If anyone has a question, please feel free to put it in the chat box, or if you know how to raise your hand on Zoom, you can try that. There haven't been any questions coming in yet, so I think we're good.
Okay, great. All righty, so let's talk a little bit about enrollment and account management. The enrollment for ABLE accounts in Maryland can be done online, or we can also use paper enrollment kits. I would say about 98% of our folks do choose to do it online because it's very easy and can be done in a matter of moments. And you just do that by visiting our website. And once you're ready, you click on a button in the upper right-hand corner that says Open an ABLE account now. And it just takes you through a series of questions that you answer. And in about 5 to 10 minutes, the ABLE account is opened. I'm going to share a little bit more about the account enrollment process in a minute, but I'd also like to make sure we have time to share some things about Maryland ABLE and what we offer here, because again, there are 42 states across the nation that do offer ABLE accounts, and Maryland is one of them. We are open for national enrollment, as are many other states. So we always say that we'd love for you to have a Maryland ABLE account, but more importantly, we want you to, check into other ABLE programs and find out which program is best for you or your family member. In Maryland, we do have a couple of features that not all states offer. The first is that we have an opportunity to keep your money in a cash savings type of account. And then we also have the opportunity to invest the money in the ABLE account. So the cash savings option is very similar to a money market savings account that you can get at any of the local banks. It's FDIC insured. Right now, obviously, the interest rates are just not so great here anywhere. So you're not earning a lot of interest on the cash savings option, but that is definitely one way of saving money in your ABLE account. The other way is the investment option. And this is an opportunity for you to be able to purchase investments with your savings. And we offer 3 different investment options. We have a conservative option, a moderate, and an aggressive. And these accounts are managed by Vanguard. All right, so obviously this is just a little talking point. I can't go off too far into the weeds about that, but just to know that that is an option for folks. And people sometimes choose to take the money in their ABLE account and split it between a cash savings option and an investment option. You're certainly able to do that. Some people do a 20% in cash, 80% in investments, or any variety of that, just so it gives them the opportunity to explore both. You're also able to change those options up to twice per calendar year. Another feature we have in Maryland is the state income deduction for Maryland state taxpayers. So if you contribute to an ABLE account, you are able to claim that as an income deduction on your Maryland state taxes up to $2,500 per ABLE account. So if you contributed to more than one ABLE account, if you had several children that had ABLE accounts or family members, you could claim up to $2,500 of those deductions per ABLE account. Here in Maryland, we also offer a prepaid Visa card, which is a very convenient way to be able to access the funds that's in your ABLE account to pay for those qualified disability expenses. You can use it anywhere, online or in stores, anywhere that Visa or MasterCard is accepted. And it's a really nice feature because it also helps you to keep track of all of your receipts and categorize all of your expenditures. So it's a really helpful way to just make sure that all that information is organized and recorded, recorded, so that if you needed to be able to verify how money was spent in the ABLE account, it would make it really easy to do that. We also offer an online gifting page, which is a really nice feature for folks that are saving for something in particular that they would like some support saving for. I know we've seen some people use this as a way to save for a car or for their first month's rent. And it gives people the opportunity to contribute to the ABLE account in a very confidential way. You don't share, account numbers with one another. You just send someone a link to the gifting page. They're able to make a contribution, very similar to like a GoFundMe page, but in this case 100% of the contribution goes to the ABLE account. There's no fee charged for that. A couple of things we like to say is that when you open your ABLE account, it takes a minimum of a $25 deposit to open the account. And this is similar to if you went to another bank and you wanted to open a savings account, they would have a minimum amount required to open that. After you make that initial investment into your account or that initial deposit into your account, it's up to you how often you want to make a deposit or how infrequently, however you want to do it. You can do that anytime you want, but the next deposit thereafter has to be a minimum of $10. There is a fee for having an ABLE account. There's a $35 annual account maintenance fee. And this, this fee is something that is prorated. So anyone that opens an ABLE account in the month of May is not going to have to pay for the fees assessed earlier in the first quarter. We also like to say that it doesn't come out all at one time. It comes out in 4 installments each quarter of $8.75. There is an additional fee if people do choose the Visa prepaid card, and that would be $1.25 per month. Some people opt to get this card and some people don't. Some people use their savings in their ABLE account for long-term savings and they really don't access it that often. But there's other folks that contribute, you know, money from their paycheck or whatever. They contribute, say, $500 a month, but they're spending $350 of it per month. So they're using the account as a very transactionary account as opposed to just a long-term savings. Just reminding everyone that there is a $15,000 annual contribution limit for the ABLE account. The only way around that is if someone is employed and they qualify for able to work. So sometimes people say, hey, you know, I received a large payment from an inheritance or a settlement from an accident case. I have a check for $50,000. Can I put that into my ABLE account? The answer is not if you've already met that $15,000 limit. So that is one of the reasons that we do really recommend that people do check in with a financial advisor or get some advice about that, because oftentimes if there's a large amount of money that needs to be saved, that's where you're going to need a special needs trust. And there's definitely a way that ABLE accounts do work with special needs trust, but we're not able to handle a large amount of money coming in at one time. That $100,000 limit, again, is just the amount of money that you can save in your ABLE account before any of your SSI cash benefits are impacted. But remember, if you do exceed that amount, you still are enrolled with Social Security Administration. You will be able to receive those benefits again if at any point your balance falls below $100,000. And the most important thing is that even if you go above the $100,000, you never lose your Medicaid or waiver services. The next is a $500,000 lifetime account limit, after which contributions are not accepted. So this, because we are tied to the Maryland 529 college savings plan in our code, that is the amount of money that the 529 college savings plans are allowed to accept in their program. And just a fun fact for the day, that $500,000 limit, it does change from time to time as well. This is the amount of money that it will cost for a child born today. By the time they are able to attend college, that is the amount of money that they anticipate that it's going to cost. So this number will change again from time to time. And the $2,500 state income deduction per contributor per ABLE account for Maryland state taxpayers is something that's going to only be available to folks who pay Maryland state taxes or reside in Maryland. So if you have a family member, grandma or grandpa that lives in Florida and they make contributions to the ABLE account, they're definitely able to do that, but they're not going to be able to benefit from that income deduction because they don't pay Maryland state taxes.
So Kelly, we've had 2 questions. Do you want to take these now, or would you like?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. So one question is, are there any special considerations or concerns in itemizing ABLE account contributions on Maryland state taxes that we should be aware of?
Okay, could you repeat that question, Sue?
Sure. Are there any special considerations or concerns in itemizing the ABLE account contributions on the Maryland state taxes that people should be aware of? So is there anything that other than just, I guess, a straight itemization of what contribution has been made? What else should people know about itemizing that?
They don't have to itemize it. They are able to just write the maximum amount of their deduction. So if they contributed above the $2,500, they'd only be able to claim $2,500 on that. But you don't have to break it out in any other way, just to list it on there, the total amount that they're eligible to deduct.
Great, thank you. And then the next one is, we've compared all the different state ABLE accounts, and it's really difficult to know which one to choose. Other than the Maryland state tax deduction, is there any other special aspects of the Maryland ABLE account that you want to highlight?
Well, I think a lot of times people will make that decision based on the investment options that we have. For example, there's one state that offers about 11 or 12 different investment options. When we opened Maryland ABLE, we were listening to our stakeholders, and they said they wanted to keep it simple. So we offer 3 investment strategies plus the cash option. So it really just depends on how you plan on using your ABLE account and how you choose to invest it. If you're a really savvy investor, you may want to go with a plan that offers more options.
Great, thank you.
All right. So I know we're getting close to the end. I just want to let you know that if anyone is interested in opening an ABLE account, I want to let you know what types of information you would need if you get ready to do that. Once you're on our website, you're going to need the Social Security number for the individual that's going to open the ABLE account. And if he or she needs someone to help manage that account, that's what we call an authorized legal representative. You'll also need the Social Security number for that person as well. It's important to know that if you're opening an account for a minor, you will have to have an authorized legal representative on the account. That's just required with financial accounts. If the person is over the age of 18, you will need to receive permission from the account holder to be on the account. And that type of permission would be either power of attorney over property. Some people actually have guardianship over a family member that has a disability. But if you don't have either one of those, you're also able to go to our website and you can download a form for a limited power of attorney, which would just give you permission to be to have access to the ABLE account. It's a power of attorney over ABLE account only. You don't have to see an attorney. You just fill out the form and you're going to have it signed and notarized, and you can just send that in. The last thing that you'd have to do is to link your ABLE account with an existing checking or savings account. If you guys have any other questions that you want to what you'd like me to follow up with, I'm happy to do that. You can reach us at questions@marylandable.org. We also have our customer support team that's available to you Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. And that number that you see there is on the screen. I know I just did a very basic overview, but I am happy to follow up with you guys. If you just reach out by email, I'm happy to do that.
Great, Kelly. And just one last minute here. If anybody has any questions, please go ahead and put that in or raise your hand and let us know. We really appreciate this information. I have one quick last question for you about the expenses that are eligible for the money that is in the ABLE account. I know you mentioned that there are some qualifications to it. Can you just briefly tell us a little bit about what an eligible expense might be for those funds?
Did you say eligible or ineligible?
Eligible.
Eligible. Okay, so that could be it could be utility, paying the BG&E bill, your phone bill, any type of ordinary basic living expense. It could also be to save money for a car. It could be gas in the car. It could be your car insurance, anything that's going to support the person in his or her health, independence, or quality of life. So it could be a gym membership, it could be your monthly phone bill. And the important thing is that it's really up to the account holder and his or her authorized legal representative to determine which expenses are eligible. And the only person that you're going to have to report to or answer to would be the IRS. In the event of an audit, they would say to you, how did you spend the money that you took out of that ABLE account? What did you spend it on? And if they had a question about it, you would have to be able to say how that supported the person with the disability. Okay,
Great. Yep. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Well, thanks again, everybody, for attending. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing this great information and resource for us. I do want to let everybody know that this is being recorded and will be put on the Cash Academy's website. Please feel free to reach out with any other webinar suggestions that you have. We have many more coming up in the next few months. Oh, we do have one last quick question that I'll get in here.
Sure.
Do you have any recommendation for financial planners experienced with ABLE accounts and special needs trust? So maybe that might be something we could reach out to you individually on. I'm sure, as Kelly may explain as well, we don't recommend a specific financial planner, but there may be a way that you can do your homework to figure out which one has the most experience with this type of work that they can do. So certainly we can reach out individually to you to get that information. So thanks, everybody. I am going to go ahead and end this. Again, the recording will go up on Cash Academy. I hope everybody stays safe and stay well during this time. And please have hope that everything will get back to normal. We will get through this together. Thanks again.
Thank you.